Donate really a big part of this. Can you? Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyway, you know, when I see this, I used to think to myself,
Hey Genshin, can you hear me? Good morning. No? Second. Okay, thank you. June Murphy, one of the co-founders of this is being recorded. You have, of course, control over that. We usually share it on YouTube for those Sangha members who aren't able to attend. Yeah, maybe. I think I'm going to zoom in a little bit more after I introduce, but thank you for being aware of our online Sangha. Hi, online Sangha. How's the volume? Robin, are you hearing me okay? Oh, great, good. Okay.
Hi, Robin.
We're herding the cats in here. We're all getting settled. Let me get the bell. Those in the
Trinity statement.
Was it? Aww. We're herding the chickens. Okay.
Cats are triggering.
I get it.
Do that.
Give your chicken a hug. We're okay.
Yeah.
That's a teaser. That's the.
Yes, this is great.
And then you put it back.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience online. I think we're all settling down here. Thank you all for being here on this beautiful rainy morning here. It's an honor and a great joy to introduce to the Sangha this morning Samantha Lotti.
Good morning.
In addition to being a wonderful human being, Samantha is also a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, a licensed acupuncturist and certified and registered biodynamic craniosacral therapist, and a board-certified herbalist. She does have an office here in Oak Park, and we added the website link in our newsletter, Biodynamic Health. Her talk this morning is entitled Embodiment. We are so glad to have you. Thank you for being here.
It's great to be here. Hi, everybody. It was a really great privilege to sit with you all this morning because I got a sense of your Sangha, but I also got a sense of your nervous systems. Which, fortunately, you have a space that has outside, you have a lot of noise, and inside, it echoes. So you can, every time anybody moves or makes any kind of sound, you all hear it, okay? Now, the interesting thing is with the mind, we try to ignore it, those sounds, and try to stay present with the moment. But our body is like, what is that? And it tries to understand what's happening. And if you dominate with your mind and say, you can't pay attention to that, you're supposed to be just right here, then you're actually not here. You're not with your body. You're not with the vehicle that you live in, which is, for the moment, our temporary home. We will have another one, as you all know, and in many lives to come, we will have body after body. But in this incarnation, you have what you have. And it is actually an instrument. And the instrument is meant to pick up everything. You've all heard the term, the sixth sense. The sixth sense is your nervous system. It's the capacity to perceive things that are invisible. It built from many, many years of evolution because we had to be able to track things in nature that were going to attack us and kill us primarily. That was the reason. So anytime that you hear anything that is not foreign, that is foreign to you, and you can't place it with your mind, automatically your nervous system goes, what is that? I need to turn around. I need to look at it. I need to go to it. I need to know what it is. I need to analyze it. And during our sitting, there were multiple things that made my nervous system do that, and I absolutely felt that it didn't do that to all of you. And the only thing you have to do in those moments is to just allow the nervous system to have a few minutes of your time. So let's say that it's a loud noise outside. I was sitting this way, facing this wall, and it was on the outside is on my left-hand side. So when something goes by, like the train, the train is familiar. It's a familiar sound. But for a moment, the nervous system goes, what is that? As it's coming. And your attention, you just let go of having to be here, and you go over there. You go to the sound of the train. Your nervous system recognizes it as a train, because we've all heard trains tens of thousands of times. And then you come back. So it's similar to with our mind, right? Where our thoughts are going, oh, I have a grocery list, I am uncomfortable, my knees hurt, whatever it is that the thoughts are telling you, you just are with that thought for a moment and then you come back. But where are we coming back to? Because you live in here and it's part of the experience, but you aren't this thing. You're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, and you're certainly not your body. But all of the things I just listed are your body. Your thoughts are your neurology, your emotions are your hormones, and your physical body is the material that you live in. So what are you? And just so we have a reference, because I'm going to be talking about the brain briefly, my mentor, I told him I was going to do this talk, and he's a Buddhist, and I need a little bit of input because the word mind in Buddhism stretches across a huge span of meaning, but most people would say if you threw the word mind out there, it means something that's going on here, right? But it's not. So what he did was, when he was with me, he said, imagine there's someone across, I'm gonna make you all do this. Imagine someone's across the room and it looks like they're talking to you or they're pointing to you. How, without words, would you right now identify whether they were talking to you or not? Like, actually do it. What would you do if you saw someone across the room and you think they're pointing at you? What would you do? Right? What are you pointing at? You're not pointing here. You're pointing here, right? So this is just a tool that we get to use and has nothing to do with what you all are practicing, okay? And that's the same in Taoism as well. I follow the Taoist lineage. So there is some overlap between Taoism and Buddhism. So in Buddha's time, he sat with, I think he had, you can correct me, but I think he had around 1,000 students that were following him around. And the Buddha never talked about the body because he didn't need to. They were living in extremely difficult conditions. Mosquitoes, rain, sometimes starving because they went out to beg for food in a giant bowl. They got a bowl, they combined all the food that they gathered together, it all got divided into little portions, And if you got that much food, that's what you got. So you were starving, you were lying on the floor in the cold, you did not have hot showers, you did not have the amenities that we have today. So the actual spiritual practice related to body, the Buddha didn't have to talk about, because they were literally living that every day. The lesson of how to be with the body in an incredibly uncomfortable state was happening every day. So of course he didn't have to talk about that. He had to talk about the monkey mind, which really gets in our way, right? But the body is a huge part of what's happening. You have to take into consideration that in the modern world, unfortunately, we don't have those circumstances, so our physical body, for the most part, is very comfortable. And so we have to train ourselves to be embodied, because we don't have the training from our environment. You can make it if you want. You could live with no heat in your apartment, and in the summer with no air conditioning, and that would truly help you to understand what you have to deal with. It's as as attention consuming. Your body is as attention consuming as your thoughts. If you were to actually be experiencing these difficult physical states on a day-to-day basis. So the Buddha didn't have to teach about that. We have to now learn about embodiment now. And it is in some ways missing from many spiritual practices, because when these spiritual practices were made, the body was already something that people had to work on to manage that uncomfortable state. So you all know that the mind has nothing to do with the physical brain, right? But when you're sitting there on the cushion, we can't help but associate with the physical brain, saying, oh, the physical brain is where I am located. But what we just did proves to you it's not, right? It's here somewhere, or something else, right? So for all intensive purposes, I'm going to say that the mind is located in the heart space, but it isn't the heart itself, okay? It's located in I'm going to speak from the terms of Chinese medicine. The heart and the blood are where the Shen, which is the spirit, lives. So the blood, because it touches everything in the body, is, for Chinese medicine, is the way in which your spirit has the opportunity to embody, to actually be able to use this vehicle and touch every single corner, inch, millimeter that's here, is through your blood, because the blood touches everything. So when you're awake, the blood circulates and the Shen, the spirit, goes out to the periphery, and you're able to walk in the world, you're able to speak in the world, you're able to create in the world with your hands. And then when you go to sleep, the Shen takes refuge inside the physical heart, and it's like it's home within the home. And the physical heart, you fall asleep, and then the Shen, the spirit, can take you to other places. So you can actually multi-dimensional travel. I mean, this is in Chinese medicine. I don't know how much bleeds over into Buddhism, but there has to be a way for you to travel in and out of this instrument. And because it's an instrument, it needs fine tuning, it needs tending to. Let's say a violin, for example, you would never leave it out in the rain, right? Because it would be ruined. If you really want the instrument to play the way you want it to play, the problem is usually not the instrument, it's the musician. Okay, so the instrument for all of us, even those of us that experience daily pain, which includes mental and emotional pain, most of those things are actually because of the musician, not because of the instrument. Because the instrument itself is 95% fully functioning. None of us have to think about beating our heart. None of us have to think about digesting our food. None of us have to think about sending signals at 250 miles an hour between your brain and every other part of your body. Like, for me to do this is happening at 250 miles an hour, and all I had to do was think, right? So none of us are actually doing the hard work. The instrument works perfectly. So there's something wrong with the musician then. Okay? The musician has to learn to play the instrument. But if we ignore the instrument, of course it's not going to play right. Okay? And in modern day life, what I've experienced through my 15 years of practice is that most people don't realize, first of all, that this is an instrument, that they are not their physical body, they are not their emotions, and they are not their thoughts. They don't realize that. So what happens? The instrument actually controls the musician. So the thoughts take over and cycle endlessly and have control, right? The emotions take over and cycle endlessly and have control. And the body that has all kinds of things going on, whether it's problems with defecation, problems with pain, problems with muscles, whatever it is, also takes over. We're uncomfortable, we fidget, we tap our feet, there's all kinds of things that we do, right? So the instrument has more power than the musician. And the musician has to learn to play the instrument, but if you don't even know you have an instrument, that's problem number one. But then the second is when you realize you have the instrument and you're in it, you're not outside of it, then you need to learn all the little buttons and things that you need to push. Like imagine that you're in a car and the car has no doors or windows. You can't leave for 80 years. Okay? And the only way that you can get anything is through small portals, like the mouth and the eyes and the ears, right? You get these little doorways, the nose, so you get air, you get the basics are fed in, but you can't leave. So are you gonna just sit there and do nothing? No, you're gonna try to figure out how to push the buttons right and how to do the levers and how to use the small portals to get the most you can out of your instrument. So step
There's no
number...
owner's manual.
Oh, say that again?
There's no owner's manual either.
Yeah, so this is the thing, is that the user manual, if only we were taught by being given a user manual. And to me, embodiment is the user manual. If you learn to be embodied for real and you don't ignore the instrument, you use it, then your job in these 80 years is to become the master of one instrument. If you master the instrument, all of you have heard an incredible orchestra play or an incredible piece of music that has truly moved you. You don't have to change the world. Your presence changes the world because you're playing your instrument and the vibration off of that instrument is transforming everybody around you, okay? So the internal work, yes, is work on the mind, is work on the thoughts, is work on the emotions, and is work on the physical together. And mind, I'm referencing the Buddhist mind, which is a huge stretch of what all the terms of what that means. I personally don't understand specifically what it means in Buddhism. In Taoism, we talk about the Tao, which is Tao you can talk about, which is we try to describe something undescribable, and then the Tao you can't talk about, which is sort of the absolute that is impossible for us to comprehend because the vehicle can't comprehend it. Okay? So we have to work within the realm that we exist in and try to use it to play our instrument so that we have a lovely experience, but also we serve. Every one of us is in service, and every one of us is sacrificing. And that's totally normal and the way it's supposed to be. But wouldn't it be nice if you knew how to do it really well, where it wasn't dragging you down, weighing you down? And in Taoism, we talk about you want to be light and limber and float and follow. So the whole existence that we have, the physical existence, is actually quite heavy. And so how do you become light? How do you become just soft? I'm going to tell a brief story. I only saw the Dalai Lama once in my life in person. in New York City, and there were thousands of people. There were like 15,000 people in this auditorium. And I was showing up because another mentor of mine, Michael Shea, I was in his class at the time for craniosacral. And he said, the Dalai Lama is in New York. I really think all of you should go. And I was the only one who went. And I was sitting there with all these thousands of people, and he comes on stage. And has anybody seen the Dalai Lama in person? You have. Okay. You know how he comes with an entourage of people? And it's the Chinese monks, and then it's the Tibetan monks. And he's always trying to do some very wonderful political activism to help bring peace, right? But he comes on stage and he has certain things he has to do. He has to say hi to certain people, right? He has to acknowledge a group of people, and then he has to acknowledge another group of people. And as I was watching him on the stage, I saw that he was only with the person that he was with in that moment. He didn't look at the audience. He didn't acknowledge anybody except the person that was in front of him. And I found that so interesting. I mean, you walk onto a stage with thousands of eyes that are looking at you, and everybody's craving your attention, and you're just like, no, just you, right? And then he goes to the next person, and then just you, and then just you. And he does this for like 20 minutes. It takes like 20, 30 minutes for this to happen, okay? And then he comes to the podium, or to like his, he has a cushion and he has a whole setup. And so he started to sit down and make himself comfortable. He still has not looked at the audience. He didn't even, it's as if we didn't exist, okay? And he made himself comfortable. He sat down and arranged his robes. He took off all of his sacred beads and put them to the side. He made sure, with the help of someone else, that the microphone was in the right place. And then he put on his little visor to block the bright lights. And then it's as if I saw him just like turn inward, complete the process, and then all he did was look up. And I felt like he was looking at just me. That is a man who has mastered his instrument. That is presence. You are present in every moment with what is going on and not trying to be anywhere else. You're able to control this thing to serve you and do your bidding. So to look up at 14,000 people and all of us were suddenly just like, you know, and you feel seen. It's incredible. Wouldn't it be nice if we all knew how to do that? Okay? So I'm going to try to give you a little bit of an introduction to embodiment, because you need to have harmony between these parts that you have to work with, this beautiful thing that you live in, and that is conscious, by the way. It has its own consciousness. Every single cell in your body has a consciousness. It's a different type of consciousness, a maybe simpler consciousness than our consciousness, but you're dealing with like somewhere between, there's an estimate of somewhere between 50 and 80 trillion cells. They each are conscious. And whatever you are is one, and you have 80 trillion tiny consciousnesses that have needs and desires and have to maintain themselves and have to maintain their environment and have to work with you, who I like to call the weather. You are exactly like the weather, because they live in darkness, they live in water, we live in air, and we live in light. We can't understand each other because our environments are completely different, okay? They have needs, we also have needs, but everything that we do, like me giving a talk right now, the seated meditation, me getting here this morning, all of that is weather to my cells. So if it's going to be, let's say that the thing you're aiming for, just like we want also, is that you want, when you walk outside, it's a nice, beautiful, sunny day, and it's warm. Like, not too warm, but, you know, nice temperature. And you can be a sunny day for yourselves, or you can be a storm, or a volcano, or an eruption of any kind, snowstorm, thunderstorm, you name it. You can be any of those things. And so you're trying to work with each other, teamwork, so that sometimes you do have rainy days, but it's not like lightning striking and burning down buildings, okay? So your tool is your home. In this life, you are here for this amount of time in this. So some of you got a Nissan, some of you got a Porsche, some of you got a Jeep, right? You can't get out of it, you can't trade it in. So you can't drive a Nissan like a Porsche, just like you can't drive a Porsche like a Nissan, all right? So, but you can do incredible amounts of things if you understand which vehicle you got and how to maneuver in that vehicle. So does it really matter if you're awake at night because you can't sleep well? No, it doesn't. What matters is that throughout the day you get a total of 8 hours of sleep. So if you're getting them 2 hours at a time, that's fine. Does it really matter that you eat 3 meals a day? No. You could eat 10 meals a day, but proportional to what your body needs. Some people have fast metabolisms, some people have slow metabolisms. You have to learn these things about the vehicle so that you can operate within it to the best of your ability. If you're somebody who after a meal is sleepy, which a lot of people are, that means your meal was too big, okay? You need to eat less, or you need to eat less heavy food or different types of food. So everything think of yourself as like, in some ways, a mad scientist, because you have to understand all of the ways in which your body will operate best. But also the whole lived experience, because this is a chemical experience, literally physical chemistry, you can change the chemistry. So depending how much you sleep, how much you eat, how much oxygen you take out, how much carbon dioxide you get rid of, every choice that you make, which are choice by choice by choice, will transform the chemistry and will transform how you live this experience. And in Taoism, again, the way the Tao is described is that you can never reach the Tao. You're in it already, okay? But you can, it's like the sun. You can orbit closer to the sun, or you can orbit further and further and further away from the sun, okay? So you want to get closer to the center. So every choice that you make slightly changes the angle of your orbit. So you either get closer to the center or you get further away. You're never getting there, okay? Because this is alive and it is changing all the time. So it's impossible to attain the end, all right? So now that we have the concept of what you're working with, alive, ever-changing, will change as you change also, but will change you as it changes, you're in a creative state together, and that creative state can either help you or hinder you. So the 4 first steps of embodiment that I'm just gonna teach you right now, and I'm gonna guide you through a guided practice to get it. But the 4 first steps are, first, you have to be able to perceive the parts. So you have to actually be able to feel the different aspects of the body. And the only things we have right now to have access to the body where we are aware of it is through felt sense. And there's certain things that'll give us a felt sense. And the primary one is your skin. Your skin has touch receptors, it has temperature receptors, and it has stretch receptors. So every time you breathe, your skin is stretched and then relaxed. Every time you move, your skin is activated. Every time you're in contact with an environment like the air right now, it has a certain temperature. Your skin is telling you what that temperature is. Okay? So you have on the covering you, separating the water and the air, you have a very, very highly sensitive mechanism that tells you where you are in space and how you feel and interact with the world. So that's the first doorway to understanding the body. You'll never be able to feel the organs until you can master feeling your skin, okay? Because the skin is the obvious one. The skin's like this wall, okay? But being able to feel smooth muscle, like your guts or your liver, your kidneys, smooth muscle is not supposed to give you much signal. So you have to have a very subtle sense of perception to be able to perceive at that level. And you have to build that sense of perception. Everything is a skill, and this is another skill. So the first doorway of entry is your skin, okay? Then you have to be able to perceive the whole. Once you perceive the parts through your skin, you have to somehow be able to experience the whole. Because you are a whole. You're operating as a whole, including what you all would call the mind. So you have the thoughts, you have the emotions, and then you have the physical body, and you have the mind. That's a whole. It has to work all together. The third is you have to be able to perceive your environment, which your nervous system is doing that all the time. But you consciously have to start to perceive your environment also. So you have to perceive the vehicle, and then you have to perceive the environment. The vehicle is perceiving the environment 24/7. But are you perceiving the environment 24/7? No. Why? Because the brain is built to filter out 95% of what it perceives and tell you only the important things. Like right now, it's telling you pay attention to the person who's talking. So it's getting rid of the sounds outside. It's getting rid of, some of you probably have pain right now, but your pain is being subdued attention-wise because you're putting your attention on me. So whatever your brain decides is the important thing is where most of the attention is going, and everything else is being wiped out, okay? And then the fourth is you have to live in a state of divided attention. Divided attention does not mean scattered brain, ADHD, you're here, you're there, you're on your phone, you're thinking about 1,000 different things. Divided attention is actually the felt sense state where the consciousness is able to be part of the experience of the whole. Okay? So it has nothing to do with where your thoughts are. It has to do with probably the closest descriptor we have is when we understand we are not the vehicle, we understand there is no I, we become the observer, and the observer observes everything. Then there's beyond the observer, right? But I'm going to use the observer right now as this divided attention. The observer can perceive the body, it can perceive the environment, it can perceive everything that's going on. Like while you're driving, you're paying attention to the road, but you know the cars are on your left and right. You know the one that's in front of you. You perceive the one in the back. You know how big the car is, right? You can actually tell the size of the car. You become the size of the car while you're on the highway driving 70 miles an hour, so that you don't get too close to the car in front of you. You don't allow the person behind you to get too close to you. And when you change lanes, you don't crash into the car next to you. And you're doing this at 70 miles an hour while listening to music, while having somebody else in the car talking to you, or maybe you're talking on the phone to somebody, or you're thinking about the work that you're gonna go do in 20 minutes when you get to your destination. How are you gonna park, and blah, 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 all the things that are going on. You're doing all of this at the same time. That's divided attention. So you do it all the time, but you're just not thinking about the fact that you're doing it, okay? So now we're gonna do, well, let me pause a second. Do you all have questions? Okay, yes.
Over here, Adrian, can I pass to you? Thanks.
Just as bullet points, could you repeat the 4 steps?
Yes, absolutely, yes. The first step is to be able to perceive the parts. then to perceive the whole, then to perceive the environment, and then to have divided attention. Okay? This is the beginning of embodiment, which will, by the way, take you months and months and months to master if you do it every day. But I highly suggest you at least do a little bit every day. But yes, anybody else?
Anyone online? Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so now I actually want you to be comfortable. I want you to be like the Dalai Lama, completely take care of yourself in this moment physically. Be sure that you actually are comfortable in your chair. And I want you to just ask yourself, if I had to sit here forever, would I be comfortable? Okay? So every time you sit down or you do anything, ask yourself, could I do this for eternity like this? If you can't, you need to adjust. Okay? And you're allowed to adjust throughout, but that's the starting point. I want you to first be, you have to be comfortable, because otherwise you can't be here. You're either thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future, and your body's already ready to go, right? So really be comfortable as if we're all gonna be here for eternity. Okay. All right, then you choose if you want to have your eyes open, you want to have your eyes closed, and I'm going to walk you through first a body scan, which probably most of you have done before, but that is the entrance to the lived experience of the vehicle. So settle in. And become aware of your head, the weight of your head, the shape of your head, the way your hair feels on your skull, the features on your face, your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your cheeks, your jaw, and your ears. So already we have an interruption. That sound that's on my right, your left. Your nervous system, all of our nervous systems went to that. So you have to when that kind of thing happens, you gotta let your nervous system go there, and then when it's no longer something that your nervous system's interested in, you come back to what you were doing. So back to the head, the way the skin feels on your features on your face. This is one piece of skin that covers your whole body, but it has different sensations from top to bottom. So just keep in mind that it's one piece of skin. Your head is connected to your shoulders through your neck. So perceive the front, the sides, the back of your neck. And the skin spreads across the shoulders and divides into two, goes into the two arms. Your shoulders are connected to your elbows through your upper arms. Another disruption. Go that way. Give your nervous system a second. And then come back. Come back to your arms, your shoulders connecting your elbows through your upper arms, your elbows connecting your wrists through your forearms, your wrists connecting to your fingers through your palms. Noticing the difference in sensation between the inner arms versus the outer arms. how the right and the left arm feel different from each other. And if you encounter an area of pain, you just perceive that there's pain. You don't have to have thoughts about it. It's the felt sense of pain, and then you keep going. And come back to your chest. And your chest, the first thing that we notice is that it's moving. With the inhale, the lungs expand three-dimensionally. They expand forward, back, to the sides, up and down. So that means the skin stretches on the front, on the sides, and on the back of your body equally. The diaphragm gets pushed down by the inhale, and on the exhale, the diaphragm relaxes and the air comes out, and your chest settles back to a resting position. Then on the next inhale, follow that sensation of stretching and expanding down into your abdomen, which again is stretching three-dimensionally. So forward, to the sides, back, up and down. And on the exhale, feel everything settle back to a resting position. On the next inhale, all the way down to your hips, feeling that expansion. And then as you exhale, settle into the sensation of the weight of your hips. Your pelvic bone is the heaviest bone you have in the body. And that's because it has to carry the weight of your upper body and distribute it between your two legs. So it has to be incredibly sturdy. So feel that weight, feel the close around your hips. And then the skin divides and goes down your two legs again. Feel the front of the thighs, the back, the sides, inner and outer. How your hips connect to your knees through your thighs. From your knees connecting to your ankles through your lower legs. Be aware of the temperature. The change between the feeling of the temperature in your hips versus your lower legs. And then the skin that wraps around your ankles, around your feet, the top, the bottom, between the toes. Comparing the right and left leg, the front and the back of the legs, the inner and outer legs. Just feeling all the differences that are there. You have a lovely thunderstorm going on. So we're about to get to the outside here in a second. Once you have the parts, now you need to get a sense of the whole. And consciously, there's only really two ways to do that. One is through the felt sense of a gravity affecting our body. So gravity is always pulling us down toward the earth. And there's a general sense of light pressure on every part of our body pulling us downward. You can feel it more in certain areas, like you're seated right now, so you're going to feel it more on your hip area, back of your legs, butt, the bottom of your feet. But the way you want to perceive that effect of gravity on your body is similar to if you're looking at a landscape. If you look at a specific tree in the landscape, you can't see the whole thing. But if you soften your focus and you allow yourself to lose the details, you can perceive the trees, the sky, the lake, the mountain. You can perceive everything in the landscape. So this is similar. You're going to feel the general effect of gravity pulling you down toward the earth. And then you're going to feel, once you have that sense, you're going to shift your attention to the sense of heat that your body is producing and emitting into the environment. Every chemical reaction in your body has a byproduct of heat. That heat has to be distributed to the surface because otherwise you would burn up inside. So the blood distributes the heat to your skin. The skin evaporates the heat into the environment in tiny, tiny, tiny molecules, water molecules, into the surrounding environment. So similar to the landscape idea, you are surrounded by a cloud of warm, moist droplets of water that are still you. They are still your physical body because they came from your physical body. So I want you to try to perceive right off the surface of your skin a warm, fluctuating space. And if that's hard to do, which at first it usually is, then imagine you're either wrapped up in a nice warm comforter, or what it feels like when you're in a hot bathtub, or my favorite is the hot towels out of the dryer that you wrap yourself up in and that warm, comfy feeling. But it's a general sense of warmth that's all around you, above you, below you, in front of you, in back of you, to the sides, it's everywhere. And once you have a sense of the parts and you have a sense of the whole, now you need to perceive your environment. So, just this room right now, there's a lot of people in here, I'm talking, there's a floor below your feet, there's a ceiling above your head, it's probably 8 to 10 feet above your head. Each of you are a certain distance from each wall in this room. Your body knows how far you are from every wall in this room. It knows how far you are from the ceiling, from the floor. It knows how far you are from the outdoors. Become aware of that. So send your attention out to the walls. Send your attention up to the ceiling, down to the floor. Know where the outside world is. You're getting a sense of where you're physically located in space. You take up space, physical volume. You're becoming aware of how much physical volume you take up in this room specifically. And once you have the parts and you have the whole and you have the environment, now you're going to become aware and choose how much attention you put on each one. So you can put 90% of your attention on one part, like a part that hurts, and then 5% on the whole and 5% on the room. Or you can switch it around. You can put 45% on the whole, 45% on the room, and only 5% or 10% on the pain or the discomfort that you have. So just for a moment, play around with dividing your attention consciously. You are consciously choosing where your attention is without losing a feeling of the other parts, without losing a feeling of the whole, which is that heat and that weight of gravity that you can feel, and not losing a sense of the room. And then when you're ready, you can just come back to your thoughts. And we can have a just short discussion about your experience. All right, so
You're over here.
Well, this is such an amazing talk. Wow. This is only the second time this has ever happened to me in a meditation, but when you were talking about the heat of the body, I got so incredibly warm for about a minute. I thought I was going to pass out. That was amazing. That's happened before, one other time to me.
the reason is because as you allow for your attention to be distributed in the whole, your body naturally relaxes. Because we get so focused with our mind, with our thoughts, our thoughts focus in so much that we kind of do, the body kind of does this, I'm going to exaggerate, but it comes inward like this, okay, which pulls away from the extremities, and the body will always protect the core because everything's important in here to keep you alive. But when you relax because you're aware of the whole, and suddenly you're like, oh, okay, the parts will hold themselves together, then everything settles, and then the blood rushes to everywhere and fully nourishes you with giving you more oxygen, taking away more carbon dioxide, and you feel this radiating warmth. If you stayed with that, if you had time to stay with that, it would flare, and then it would settle into a soft warmth that just kind of feels like you're floating, like it's comfortable. It's like when you're falling asleep, that like, ooh, this is nice, and then it just stays there. Yeah.
Well, thank you for this wonderful talk. I appreciate it. At the risk of being a naysayer, and I'm going to oversimplify just a little bit, how you described being in the presence of the Dalai Lama, that's how I felt being in the presence of Thich Nhat Hanh.
Oh.
In the presence of the Dalai Lama, I didn't get any of those vibes.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a personal experience, yeah, definitely.
Oh, over here.
I wanted to say thank you for this talk because you are giving me a vocabulary for something I haven't been able to explain to myself but have been having experiences. I had trouble staying in the room. I had an experience a long time ago of walking my friend's dog out in nature, and the little dog, she was out 20 feet on her leash, and I suddenly had this feeling of danger and that I was being watched, and I had no reason to have that feeling, and I had no reason to look up, but I looked up and there was a hawk.
Oh, wow.
And the hawk saw me, and I swear to you, we made eye contact or something, and this hawk, I know, was sort of looking at the little dog. So you're like, reeling the dog? And I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I gotta go back to my friend with her dog. Because they were just, being themselves.
Yeah.
And so I've never been able to explain how I knew that. And I've had a lot of other experiences like that. So having a vocabulary for the parts in the whole and divided attention. Thank you.
Your vehicle is doing this 24/7 without you even knowing anything, even while you're asleep. Yeah. And all you're going to do now is you're going to put consciousness, you're going to pair consciousness with it. So you're going to allow the body to continue to do what it always has done, but you are going to be there with it. Okay? And so the skill of divided attention is life-changing because your body's doing it already, but when you realize it, then you can be in a deep conversation with someone and also know exactly what's going on everywhere all the time, and it doesn't mean that you're somewhere else. You're not like off in your thoughts somewhere and you're not paying attention. You're completely paying attention, but you're paying attention to everything.
Yeah, that has saved my life a couple times.
Yeah.
Anyone online still here in the room? We still have about 10 minutes. We have Patrick and then Robert and then Ellen.
Really enjoyed your talk. I have a question. Can you explain when, for example, I have a lot of pain in my left shoulder, and if I hurt my right knee, I only feel the pain in my right knee, and I no longer feel the pain in my left shoulder? Is that something that happens in the mind, or it's something that happens in the body?
So that is based on specifically neurological signaling. So if you occupy the neurology with something else, the pattern is there to tell you that the pain is there because your body wants you to solve the pain. So it's trying to tell you, hey, there's a problem, hey, there's a problem, hey, there's a problem, hey. But, you know, if you do that all day, every day, after a while it gets a little annoying also to be constantly directed to the same place, the same place, the same place. So the moment that you, even if you had a really intense conversation with someone, that would be enough to diminish the pain that you're experiencing because the neurology now is focused on something else. So you can temporarily move the attention to an area just by squeezing yourself or pinching yourself or anytime you have pain. The key here though is the solution to the pain, which is a totally different talk, but I'll say briefly, the solution to the pain is the wholeness. It's when you can stay with the whole all the time, the pain gets integrated into the whole and no longer allow these are not my words, but there's nobody there to experience the pain because it is part of the whole and the whole extends into the infinite, right? So at first, the wholeness is just the little universe that we are inside, but eventually the wholeness is everything, right? So then this tiny little spot of pain compared to everything is nothing. And that's the progression of embodiment, is to allow you to redistribute attention and be here in the whole so that you can build the skills to be here in the infinite. Without first mastering the whole, you can't possibly connect with the infinite, really.
Robert, then Ellen, then Ken.
Well, thank you very much. What I'm about to, I'm not sure if it even relates to what you're talking about, but I just feel like I need to talk about. So a couple weeks ago, we finished up a meditation retreat here, 7-day meditation retreat. And one of the experiences I had in it throughout the retreat was getting to know my fellow retreatants very intimately without any sort of interaction with them. Like no talking, no like sitting down, who are you, what are you interested in, but really having a felt sense of who they were increasingly through the retreat. And it was just very, really touched my heart at the end, just to be connected. I felt connected to people without having to talk about being connected or touching them or holding them or talking to them, but just being in sort of our community. And we did things together, like sitting obviously and doing meals and things, but it was very powerful.
So thank you for saying or sharing that, because what you just described in words is what the nervous system is doing when we're all together. So most of the time we mask that experience by talking to each other. But the nervous system, each of our nervous systems, don't be fooled. We are all judging each other all the time, okay? And the nervous system, you can't lie to another human being. You can lie with words, but the nervous system knows exactly if the person is lying or not. And everybody has had this happen to them. When somebody tells you, oh, this would be really good for you, but they've never done that, and you never go do it, and you're like, I wonder why I didn't do it. Oh, you didn't do it because your nervous system basically said, yeah, that person's lying. They've never done it. Why would I take advice from someone who's never done something and doesn't know? Or tells you to, oh, this really helped me. No, it didn't. You didn't do it. So just so you know, when you think 5,000 times before you lie, because that person's nervous system knows that you're lying, okay? So be very, very careful. You create a tension dynamic between those nervous systems where you both are now a threat to each other. And you will treat each other as a threat indefinitely until that lie is cleared up. And unfortunately, lies lead to more lies, lead to more lies. So therefore, the tension, it feels like, sometimes people describe it, it feels like spikes are like, ugh, like they're prickly, the word we use, prickly. You're actually prickly. Your nervous systems are like, no, don't like you, nope. But when you sit, like you did, with just an open heart, no expectations, you may or may not know these people, and your nervous systems have had the time without language, so without all the overlay of our own filter and all our thoughts about things, your nervous systems had chance to build relationships in the silence. And so that's where the bond came from. They actually talked to each other the whole time.
Thank you. Ellen, online?
Hi.
Hi. Thank
Very
you.
quiet.
Hold on. I can't
Can you
hear
hear?
you yet.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom of the body and these distinctions.
You're welcome.
Wow. I think you've partially answered my question just a moment ago when you talk about staying with the wholeness when we have pain in a particular area. So my question was, when do I focus on the pain? When do I focus on something else? And maybe can you say a little more about how to stay with the wholeness when pain is present?
So yes, I think it's a topic of its own, but I'll briefly say that if you keep over and over again going back to the feeling of the warmth and of the weight, then slowly the pain will integrate itself into that bigger picture. So let's say, again, with the landscape, let's say that there's a fire that's in the middle of this landscape. So it is actually a threat, right? In some ways, the pain is kind of like a threat. Inevitably, your attention in that landscape, you're going to go to the fire because you have to figure out how far are you from the fire? Do you need to run? What can you do to solve the fire, right? But when you are in a landscape that's on fire, what you're doing is you're actually looking around trying to find a solution in other places. So you are taking in the whole. You're trying to look behind you, below you, where's the water source, where can I get help, right? So it's the same kind of thing. When you look at the whole or try to maintain a felt sense of the whole, then over and over again, your neurology gets the input that the fire is not the solution. The wholeness is the solution. So you're not by going to the fire in nature, you're not going to solve the fire, you're gonna burn to death. By looking around and searching for the water source or for help or to tell people, you're gonna find the solution. So the answer is in the whole. And if you keep just coming back to the heat and to the weight, then eventually your body will work on trying to find the solution from the part that's healthy.
Here. I just want to say we're at time, but I would love to continue the conversation as you're all interested in ABLE. Those of you online, feel free to drop off as you need. Thank you for being here. We'd love to also continue the conversation with fellowship in the community room after, so maybe we have time for maybe 2 more questions,
Sure,
and
yeah,
then we can
absolutely.
continue that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha.
You're welcome. Bye.
Love you.
Being online.
The concept of pain is one that I've been focusing on a lot recently. I mentioned to you as we were sitting down that, you know, the scar tissue from my hip replacement gives me something to focus on. But more specifically, there was a 2014 study where they took 43 people, men and women, shocked them ahead of time, got them all to agree that they would rather pay money than be shocked. And then they were left in a room alone for 15 minutes to sit quietly. 43% of the people shocked themselves for fear of boredom. That we have gotten to the point where we're so afraid of being alone with ourselves and trying so hard to use our left brain, which is what the part that we focus on to eat, versus the right brain, which for those of us who took mindfulness meditation training as teachers, that's what prevents us from being eaten while we're eating or being burned alive by fire while we're doing something else. But we have been moving more towards the left brain, okay, to think our way out of everything versus that embodiment. And it's a very weird feeling, realizing that when the rest of the world is almost afraid to be alone with themselves, but then realizing that, you know, those of us who are doing this, we come here, and the Sangha is a treasure, because where else can you go where everybody else is going through the same thing and feeling the same thing in such a minority? So I just kind of wanted to share that, and also to let you know that Zen Buddhism came through China when it was affected by the Tao. Mm-hmm. And we talk about in Zen the Buddha Tao, and I'm actually rereading the Tao Te Ching because my perspective has changed so much. So very familiar with the Tao here.
Yeah, so with regards to that, my question to the people who did the study would be the people who did not shock themselves, what did they do?
What did they?
Like, what did they do in that time?
They sat quietly.
No, I know, but what did they do? Because that's did those people have already some kind of meditative practice or some kind of training for embodiment or some self-awareness? Because it's not inherent anymore. It used to be. It was built in, but it's not anymore, and so it has to be taught. And my curiosity is, were those people taught, or did they learn somewhere to be able to be with themselves in the quiet without? And you won't know. I mean,
I'll follow up with perplexity.
Yeah, that's what would interest me there. Yeah.
So last comment, sorry Blair, but we can continue in kinship. It was such a lovely talk. Thank you. I mean, so much to keep talking about.
Oh, hey, I found this so intensely interesting, and there were so many points at which I could relate, and to my experience, but also to what I hope will be my experience. But I would like to point out or suggest that, and this is out of my experience, I'm not saying I haven't tried this, that's a joke, is find yourself, take a walk out in nature once a week without your phone. And if you can only do that for 10 minutes, fine, but you can build up. Because that kind of attention that you are describing is the kind of attention that those of us who are regularly out in nature, because that's part of my work, actually, experience naturally. But it comes to you over time. And so I'm just suggesting that as an exercise.
Yeah, so we come from nature.
Exactly.
This comes from nature.
Yeah, exactly.
So it can resonate, but let's be clear that in nature, everything's killing everything else. Right? So hold on.
Wait. Mutualisms.
Yes, it
Study
is.
mutualism.
It is the place where the absolute harmony is manifest.
Mm-hmm.
Both birth and destruction is happening 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So we can relax in that place because nature takes care of itself, and we know that. And if that means our demise or our enhancement, it's not up to us in nature.
Mm-hmm.
You can defend yourself, but in the end, most people in the past 100 years ago were just dying of an infection, a simple cut. And that's because nature would wipe you out, right? So that harmony that we feel in harmony with nature, because we know that there is that balance. It's a constantly oscillating balance that we are made from, and it resonates with us.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the place that we have lost in the modern world of the comfort with that it is equal, the equal destruction and the equal creation, the equal pain and the equal well-being. There's this, we've attached ourselves to the things that are comfortable, like this environment, this room itself is climatized, right? We're all happy in here because it's climate. If we had to sit out for my talk in the rain, none of us would be happy right now. So there's a harmony that is in nature that is no longer in human society, but you can create that harmony again inside yourself with the embodiment.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I was just pointing it out as a way to practice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nature's for sure.
Because you're talking about dharma and karma, really, in Buddha mind as well. Although you're talking about all that, only you're using different language.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Please all answer able. Linda brought some lovely, yummy treats. We have coffee and tea and refreshments in the community room. All of you online, thank you for being here. Have a lovely Sunday. So good to see you all.